back to another edition of Exec to Exec. So we've got Katie with us again. Thank you so much, Katie, for joining us. Today, we're going to talk about how automation impacts the business teams in a financial firm. So let's start with a quick overview of IT automation and what it really means for businesses.
Yeah, so great question. So IT automation is the ability to actually take things that are typically manual. So maybe configuring some sort of switch, maybe if you're talking about network automation, and being able to configure those switches at scale, right? So when we think about anything that can be automated within an IT organization, I mean, applications, operating systems, provisioning, build, you name it, it can be automated, right? And so that's something that can happen with our tool that we provide for folks, which is Ansible, right? And what was the second part of the question? I have forgotten.
What it means for the businesses.
What does it mean? That's a more important part of the question, Emily. So what does it mean for the businesses? Well, reality is that you've got a lot on your plates, right? And so how do we actually reduce the time spent on manual efforts to be able to spend more time doing things like innovation, right? And so oftentimes, the more that you can drive those costs out of operations and be able to be more efficient, then you have time to spend on more things, right? And that is always important when we're trying to drive business value for teams across an organization.
As our teams are innovating, they've also got to manage risk. That's a huge component, especially in financial services.
For sure.
How does the automation help manage that risk?
In a lot of different ways. One thing I will share, though, we just announced a vision that we're adding into the automation platform, and it's called Policy as Code. And the ability to drive policy as code, which is a term that we use, but basically what we're making possible is teams can now do automation. And at the point in time when they write automation, they can actually check against policies that exist in their organization to make sure that they stay compliant with how they do their automation and make sure any of the changes that they are looking to make are compliant to whatever policies are set into place. Additionally, writing automation isn't the only place that a policy check could occur. We are also making it possible for you to actually check the policy before the automation is run, right? And so when you think about not only when the automation is written, but when it is run, sometimes things change, right? And you're not always aware of what maybe those changes are within, say, a playbook, and that's what is actually running the automation. And so now we're making it possible for teams to be able to check the policy before the automation is run. And so it will say, hey, we're not able to run this. Go back and check and make sure that these changes are actually falling within any sort of the policies that exist in your organization. Now, those are policies that are written by the teams and those specific teams. And so we're just integrating into those policies that exist today because we know how important it is, especially in the advent of AI, right? If AI is creating things, AI doesn't always know what those policies are. And so we want to make sure that our organizations today are staying within compliance and making sure that they're mitigating the risks that they have within their organizations.
Great. And in good news, we are actually doing a quick code ideas, which is our more technical series around policy as code.
Well, so everyone should check in.
AI. So we'll have those for folks as well. Cost, optimizing cost. That is a key component of automation. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I'm going to share a data point. We did some research back in March, and I say back in March, it really wasn't that long ago, but a couple months ago, we did some research and we asked different people within an organization, IT decision makers, we asked architects, we asked developers, and we asked operations teams how much of their organization is automated, right? Super great question. It is a little bit of a trick question. The IT decision makers said a significant portion of everything they do is automated. Great. Architects, they were a little bit less than the IT decision makers. The developers, a little bit less than the architects and the IT decision makers. Unfortunately, operations was not as much fully automated as the IT decision makers believed it is. I'm telling you right now, the best place to drive cost is out of your operations. And to do that with automation is, I mean, it's, you know, a great place to even really think and look. I don't have a stat off the top of my head, but you can definitely check out Red Hat Summit on the Red Hat TV, and you can hear from Mafre, and you can hear from ADP, and you can hear from Southwest Airlines about some of the things that they were able to do to be able to reduce their costs and increase their efficiencies using automation.
Great. What's a good first step for leaders who want to advance their automation strategy?
The first step would be to think about one, what do you want your strategy to be, right? So first and foremost, do we want to start in a smaller part of your business, right? Is it about thinking at a higher level of putting automation into everything? I think there's a couple of customer stories that we have where they were really starting out and they were seeing some wins with automation in a small way. But once they said, hey, everyone has to do something and you have to automate something, then they were beginning to see all of these wins in different teams and pockets, and it just exploded, right? And so really it has to do with, you have to look at your culture and your organization and go, maybe we do some small wins, or maybe we start bigger and say, hey, let's think about what can be automated and everyone bring those to the table and we will support them no matter what.